Good day, good evening, and welcome to Getting Real with Paula. This week, we're continuing our journey into the Building People and Community series. Today, we are speaking with Bettyna Bélizaire, the Executive Director at AFIO. AFIO is a not for profit community organization whose aim is to support the full integration of immigrant women and their families, as well as the development of their autonomy within the Outaouais region. To me, COVID 19 is like a reset button for all of us to remember what gives true meaning to our lives. In the midst of huge changes, it is important for people to reconnect with their human side and appreciate what gives meaning. Significance is huge, and true happiness in life is more than just the 9 to 5 that pays the bills and a few other things. It is mostly about the people that make life worth living and the contribution we each make towards building a better world for the generations after us. Because, there's people that we want to leave this world to. Without further ado, let's bring Bettyna Bélizaire into this conversation, as this is not meant to be a monologue. So, Bettyna, I will start by asking you first, good evening. Then, could you give us a little bit of information about us? Information with respect to who you are, what you do, and what role you currently play in the not-for-profit field.
Well, Paula, thank you for having me tonight. I'm very happy to be here tonight with you. I've been following all the episodes, and you've had great people, and I'm happy to be one of your guests. And for today, so who am I? Paula, I told you on the phone. This is a question I hate to be asked. I well, I'm Bettyna. My name is Bettyna Bélizaire, and I always define myself as two words actually defined myself. It's community and entrepreneurship. Those are the two things I love.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I didn't know really how I would combine both, because at times people
Mm-hmm.
think they're not, those are two words that really you can put in the same
Together.
sentence with like a negation, but
Mm-hmm.
you can combine both, definitely. And I'm a mother. I'm a single mother, and I studied at the University of Ottawa. I did my undergraduate in international studies and modern languages.
Mm-hmm.
I did a master's in business administration. I did an MBA also at the University of Ottawa with Telfer School of Management.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked at the university for quite some time. I worked there for 10 years before before moving to AFIO. And that's a year and a half ago already. So I know, and I loved the chant. I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
do it. I wouldn't have it any other way. I really loved doing that. I really loved working at the university as well. And in a nutshell, I think that's me. I'm a person who is very involved in her community. I believe in serving people because that's the best way to learn, in my opinion. And ever since I've been in Canada, I remember the first year we came, I was going to what's that school, Collège Catholique Franco West. And it was in and at the beginning of the year they had elections, and I was elected as on the Conseil des écoles. And since then I never stopped. We raised funds to send to Haiti because there was a hurricane. and I never stopped. I never stopped being involved in my community. So this is Bettyna. This is Bettyna in a nutshell. Paula, it's like you left. So I could still keep talking about me and all of my involvements. I get asked quite often what I do and how do I manage my time and why do I do this? How many places do I get involved in? Where, in how many how you call this? In how many projects do I get involved in, and how I manage my time? Why do I get paid? I get that asked that a lot, as a matter of fact. But I don't have that many involvements. To be quite frank, I am the president of the association of resident in Plateau where I live, because it's important for me to get involved where I live, to serve the people where I live, and to to better my environment. My immediate environment is very important for me. So, and I want to be able to decide or have a say in how they will develop the neighborhood, and such. I'm also involved with Fondation Santé Gatineau. It's really about health for the community. And what I love with it is that they raise funds to invest in community building projects in health here in Gatineau, for people of Gatineau, in Gatineau. And I love that, because health is a matter that's very important. And it's to me, when you were saying, Paula, to get back to the essentials, what really matters, and I think health is definitely one of them. If COVID taught us one thing, it would be that. I'm also involved with JCI. It's the Junior Chamber International, which is an organization that unites over 200,000 youth around the world. And I love it because I get to see what's going on outside my own country. Outside of Canada, there's a lot happening, and I learn from them. I see them, I hear them, and we get to collaborate on a lot of projects together. And that's very formidable. And last but not least is the scholarship. We have a scholarship for excellency, to promote excellency among Haitian students. And um, and yeah, we raise funds, and we have both scholarship at UCO, Université du Québec en Outaouais, and also University of Ottawa. Um, and so I'm very happy to be able to impact some of those kids' life. Kids, I say kids, some of the students' life, going through. I know what it is to be a student. Every dollar, every cent is important. So I'm happy to contribute to that. So how do I get involved? And I also have my own businesses and investments that I do. But again, I believe a business is to serve people. So that's about it. I'm not sure if you're back, Paula, but I can't hear you and I can't see you.
Don't know whether it's working.
I hear you. I don't see you, but I hear you now.
Okay, me now?
I see you now. Yes, definitely.
Okay. So we are live, and I have to apologize to everybody on the live because I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, my computer just crashed. We had no light, and now we're back. Apologies
Welcome
for the
back.
delay and for your first experience on Getting Real with Paula. Bettina must be thinking, this is never doing this again. We're done, done, done. Apologies to everyone. Oh, I
Nah,
know,
it's
I know,
fine.
I
I
know.
kept
Trust me,
talking and
Paula has been
talking.
running.
I'm like,
Okay,
I was
so
just
let's
thinking, Paula
try.
should have left in another question, not asking me to talk about myself. In any other question, I would have been happy.
It's okay. We're now moving into another question. And while ask in your career journey so far, what were the particulars that brought you into that current position? Because you mentioned you were working in the university for about 10 years. What made you decide I need to try something different?
Okay, Paula, let's be honest here. Do you want the real answer, or you want you want the juice, or you want the real answer?
I would say go with what feels truer to yourself.
That's perfect. Okay, honestly, Paula, a lot of things made me, after 10 years, I needed to I needed a change. Okay, I needed a
Okay.
change. I loved where I worked, but at the same time, I was looking around me at the university, and there's a lot of people, and I believe in all organizations. There are a lot of people that stay in a job just to stay in the job because they either don't believe they can
Yeah.
find anything else, or they I don't know what were their reasons, but they were miserable. And honestly, I look at them and I'm like, I don't want this to be myself in 20 years down the road. And I've been doing
Mm-hmm.
that job for so long that I don't believe I can do anything else. And there was that, but that wasn't the main reason. Actually, the main reason was for me to serve. Like I said, I love serving people,
Mm,
and the
yeah.
main reason for me was to serve and to give back to my community. And I don't think that's what made me leave the university, but that's what made me choose AFIO, because I
Okay.
saw there more than just work. I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I would be joining like sort of a movement to build
Mm-hmm.
women, a movement to elevate women, a movement to empower women.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was a no brainer that this was for me. When you find the perfect job that suits you in all areas, that was it for me. So and I saw the strategic planning for the next, well, now only 3 years left, and I was sold. So it was, for me, it was the right choice to go to AFIO.
Mm-hmm.
It was the right moment. It wasn't the only offer I had at the time, but it was the one I chose.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about it.
Thank you for being so candid. And I would say I have been in those positions, and those who know me know that I have changed jobs often. And some people might see it as instability. For me, it was finding something that I could contribute that was bigger than just pay the bills, go to bed, get up the next morning, do a little bit, and then go to bed again, and then wonder when's the weekend coming. So, yeah, trust me,
Yeah,
it's important.
it gets like that quite quickly, and then we feel like we have to stay. We have to stay, or it's never a good time
Mm-hmm.
for that change, because so many other things change. I don't want to change anymore. I don't know, but it's important
Yeah,
for
no,
me to be in an
I
environment where
feel,
I feel empowered, where I feel like
yeah.
I'm making a difference. I'm serving. I'm growing as well. I'm learning
Mm-hmm.
in
The
so many
beauty
ways,
of
not just
that,
accounting, human resources, leadership. No, as a person, you're growing. To me, that's
and
important.
in all likelihood, when you're in that sense of growing, I'm doing something better. You actually are providing better services. You actually are more honest with yourself, more aligned with yourself, and you can actually invest a lot more energy into what you're doing. And that's positive energy rather than the negative energy. Because we know what it's like when people keep, yeah, they're on Monday and they're already complaining about how long it will be to the weekend. It's a long week. That's not making it easy.
Oh, those were the conversations.
Yeah, I've been to places like that too, and that's usually my telltale sign. Okay, need to need to find something different. Can you
Absolutely.
give us can you give us a sense of what is the mission of your organization and the service you provide?
We our mission is basically to facilitate the integration of women socially, economically, and culturally as well. So when they come, we have establishment or settlement services that we offer for the first days, months of their journey in here in Quebec with us. But I tend to say it's more than that. It's not just I love the mission, I love the vision, but when you spend a day or you volunteer for AFIO or you work for AFIO or you've been a member of AFIO or you've used our services, you have come to realize that AFIO is more than that. It's all
Mhm,
the empowerment of women. I have to say we're not a human rights organization, but we allow ourselves to have a stand when a
mhm,
decision has a social impact on our women.
mhm.
And we're not gonna go there, but we allow ourselves to do that. So,
Mhm,
so the way I like to see AFIO is like we're eternal. So you take the immigrant woman at the beginning of the tunnel when they first arrive to Canada, and we help them to go through the tunnel to fully discover and integrate the Canadian society, the host society, the Quebec, understand Quebec and what it is. So while doing that, we help them change or adapt the way they see certain things
mhm,
to facilitate their integration. But we also have to work on the other side to work on the Quebec society to say, listen, this could facilitate their integration. You may not see it as a barrier, but this actually prevents them from blooming even more.
mhm,
So that's what we do with our programs, with our collaboration with different organizations on site. So as much as we can, we try to place our immigrant women to in positions where they can see a different side of life, a different view on
mhm,
life. So they have to grow and work on themselves as well, because this is
mhm,
such a big change to leave everything that you have and come to a country where well, some of them, they have no family here. They may have family in Quebec,
mhm,
but they're all the way in Quebec City and they're in Gatineau. So it's a whole new experience for them. So if I can put with one example, so we have that woman. We have when you talk about intersectionality, that's what we are. So our mission is huge, because and there's no way just us by ourselves can fulfill that mission. And that's why
yeah,
we go for collaboration, because we have different needs, different kind of women, different from all over the world, 96 countries
mhm,
total. And it's it's there's no way you can have a program for each one of their needs. It's impossible. So
mhm,
we group them, and what we find is that at some point, yes, there's establishment, and people once you have a house, you have a job, you have a car, it's got okay, she's fine, and it's hard for us as well
mhm,
to determine what integration is. What is it? When
mhm,
does it stop? Like, and
mhm,
we find that once they have that, they have a job, not necessarily in their field, and and we don't go. What I want is to say no. Okay, that's just settlement. Now let's
Mm-hmm.
work with integration. Let's work with them, um, being empowered, being
Mm-hmm.
blooming. Doing
Mm-hmm.
what they love and giving their full potential. But at some point, we stop helping them because we think they should have been, or they speak French, they have a house, they have a car,
Mm-hmm.
they're fine. No, there's more to it. There's more to it to push them in different directions. So that's what.
The funny part about helping people move to a whole new different environment is understanding that there's what we call, at least in my mind, the survival needs, which is I get here, need to figure out how to speak, need to figure out where to put my kids, where do we sleep, do we have food on the table, and then I need a job, just a job. And then once you've done that, it's like, okay, I'm a little better. I know money's coming in. I know our immediate needs are addressed. And this is where I start looking around and say, is this working for me? And it's a fine line between what it is that we do as an organization, as I would say, province, as in terms of who is investing, because it will depend on how that person actually manages to get through. And the funny part, as you were saying, what came to mind for me as you were describing them is the sense that sometimes it's going to take me a few years, 3 or 4 years, before I realize, okay, there's a little bit of money in the bank, there's this, there's that, but I'm miserable. I need more. I studied in this field, and I wish I could go back to that field. But in the meantime, I'm working at, let's just say, McDonald's. So it does put food on the table, but that sense of meaning, that sense of purpose is not there. Fulfillment is not there. So it's huge. And I was reading, at this, going over your annual report, the percentage of women in your in that group that have a diploma, whether it's a college or university, is huge. We're talking 65%. 65% is I've already invested my energy in going into one direction, and then something happens that makes me have to leave my country, leave my environment, leave whatever it is that I was doing. Could be good, could be bad, could be whatever. And now I'm starting over, but it doesn't mean that I've lost my dreams. I'm in the emergency, but then I have to start figuring out the next step. So I know you've mentioned the fact that there's so much to be done. One thing that comes to mind is, how has the pandemic impacted either your operations or your clientele? Have you found it?
I always say, and I heard it, I'm not the only one who thinks like that. The pandemic had an impact on everybody, everyone, babies, adults, rich,
Mhm,
poor, but I think it's impacted
mhm,
people differently. And having said that, it, like you said at the beginning, it brought us back to the essential, to what matters. Some of our program had
mhm,
to be put on hold to be able to assist with immediate needs that
mhm,
became extremely urgent. So we always
mhm,
had to break down isolation. We always had to work with mental health issues, because it's a huge trauma to leave your
mhm,
school, leave everything you've always known, to come to a new country with no references
mhm,
whatsoever. So we always had to work on these things, but now we always had to work on domestic violence. But it's like the pandemic has amplified
mhm,
all of those things. they're amplified completely. I remember at the beginning, I didn't look at the numbers recently, but at the very beginning, between March and June, between we had at least one case of domestic violence a week. And I count only when there was physical violence. So there, so
Mm-hmm.
we had more psychological violence that were happening. And it changes our perspective. It brought us back to the essentials, helping people with like needs that became basic needs, survival needs. And a lot of what we realize as well is how a lot of immigrants, they listen to news from their countries. They didn't listen to news from here, or they would they have all those satellites where they have
Mm-hmm.
channels from their country. But the way I'm gonna say Lebanon respond to COVID is not necessarily what
Mm-hmm.
Prime Minister Premier
Mm-hmm.
Legault is gonna announce. So we have to make sure we're on track, and they are on track about what's going on in their
Mm-hmm.
environment. And forget about getting a job. Some of them, they were still at the hotel when the confinement started. So and they want a job. That's the first thing they want. So it's
Mm-hmm.
um it's been hard. It's been hard on the whole team, especially the social workers. And honestly, I think all social workers are doing fantastic, and I pray for them all the
Yes.
time, because it must be very hard on them right now, because those are people who go in a field where they want to help.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have no tools to help, and things, or I
Mm-hmm.
was saying yesterday, I was talking to a colleague, and I said, imagine someone calls you and say, I'm in danger, and then they have to hang up because the husband comes home and you don't hear back anymore. Do you call the police? What do you do? She just says, well, she didn't say I'm in danger. She just says, she's uncomfortable.
I'm
There's something
scared.
bothering her, and
Mm-hmm.
the husband comes. She has to hang up. She can't stay on the phone. And what do you do? Do you send the police? Do you wait for her to call back? Do you
Mm-hmm.
call her? What if you call and you went? It's really hard on them. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
having that specific dialogue with one of our social workers, and it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy, but fortunately, we have come around to find ways to address some of the issues. And government at different levels, Centraide,
Mm-hmm.
they helped our community. And to be honest, as a leader, as a manager, you learn. You learn to adapt, you learn to do
Mm-hmm.
things differently. Okay, I was never a micromanager, but now they're home. Okay, so what are the results? I have to adjust the results. Now they're home with their kids. So your meetings, people come in the meetings to give a hug to mommy. And
Mm-hmm.
as a leader, you have to change, you have to evolve, you have to
Yeah.
adapt, because things are just not the way they were.
Mm-hmm.
So I think COVID has impacted us in different ways. And don't forget, Paula, I'm a single mother myself, and I'm home with a kid who was going to school, because he's in Ontario, and he was still going to school online. Ha! I thought I was superwoman, but God, COVID reminded me that I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
was it's been hard.
Yeah.
It's been I wouldn't say hard. It's been challenging
Mm-hmm.
in a very interesting way. And
Yeah.
so far, I'm very grateful for everything we've done, everything we've overcome, and all the services we were able to give our clientele, and we
Mm-hmm.
continue to give our clientele.
Okay. Yeah. Um, it's interesting because you mentioned all the challenges, all those situations that we didn't have a set process for. My question is, what were there some discoveries or lesson learned that will have an impact moving forward?
Lesson learned and discoveries. Okay, so I would say, yeah, I've learned a few lessons. For one, like you said, tomorrow is not ours. We don't know
Mhm.
what's gonna happen tomorrow. So, like, we shouldn't try to control everything.
Yeah.
We have to accept that, it's literally one day at a time, literally one day
Yeah.
at a time. So another thing I've learned is, I had to take a step back and see how insane my life was, how I was always running some places
Mhm.
to and from, and Janardin, that's my son, and always having something to do, always keeping myself so busy. So again, go back to the essential. What
Mhm.
really matter, you know? And the other thing I realized, I'm gonna say this with a lot of precaution, uh, the rich shall be rich and the poor is like, it's like the rich got richer, and I'm thinking
Oh
of
yeah.
corporations,
Yes.
and I'm thinking of the poor people who listen.
Mhm.
Working, I'm saying this, and I'm very humble about it. I didn't know how easy I had it until I started working at AFIO. Some
Mhm.
people didn't have internet. To me, internet is a basic thing to
Normal.
at
Yeah.
home.
It's like air. You need air to breathe. Internet has to be there.
Yeah, it's like you're breathing. You need to breathe, so you need internet. Some people didn't have internet, some people didn't have computers, and till now we have some women, especially the elders, because we're really trying to keep them motivated and do certain things with us in one of our program. And some of them, they just don't have what they need just to connect to Zoom. And to me, that makes a whole difference in someone's life, and the way I see things, the way I see life. Now when on the boards where I am, whenever they ask about a decision, I automatically have that sense to say, hey, not everybody has a smartphone, which to me was like, it's a smartphone, my kid has a smartphone. But it's not a given. It's definitely not a given. And the last thing, so to make it four things, I love three, but I'll go to four. It's attitude.
Okay.
Um, I think the way people leave the situation, I'm not saying it's great, but there's always something you can learn, there's always an opportunity
Mhm.
you can grab on, and you can say, yes, I'm gonna take this and
Mhm.
run with it. The way you see
Mhm.
life, the way you live life, that's how you're gonna go through COVID, to me. And I think, and I was talking to a friend earlier, it's like counting your blessings. Yeah, it's not fun. Uncertainties,
Mhm.
people dying, you don't know if the person next to you has it or not. It's a very hard time, but the way you will address it will make a whole difference in how you're gonna live through it, and how you're gonna be able to impact
Mhm.
other people's lives in your journey. So those are the three things the four things, sorry, I can say that I've really learned from COVID.
It's interesting because I've spoken to so many different people, either guests, friends, and people you meet everywhere.
Mhm.
And this thing about and also then reassessing. We as a society, North America, so entitled. so entitled. We just thought everything was supposed to be at the end, the tips of your fingers, and it's easy. And then through COVID, we started seeing those disparities a lot more obviously. In my household, everybody has a computer or smartphone. We extended our internet, but small things. There are people, to you, it's small things, but there are people. There's one computer for five people. If
Yes,
there's three of them that have to do the schoolwork, we have a problem. So it's all kinds of things that we, even as government, had not anticipated,
exactly.
because it's this part where we have this illusion that the reality we live in is the reality everybody is into as well. And it's not. It's not. And even when you think some people you work with, you think you find
Mhm.
out things and you're like, what? And that's the part. For me, when I say it's important to check people, it's important to talk to people and understand their reality, because it's a natural tendency to just project my reality onto yours. And if you start a conversation with someone, I was watching the show last night about blah, 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 and they have no TV. And it's not just by choice. They have no internet, then it's just like they might just smile, oh, I don't watch TV. But you think it's a choice, but it could be, I have no options. I go home, I barely have what I need to make ends meet. So this is luxury item. So those are things we need to, as a larger community, pay attention to that as well. If I
And you're
was to
so right,
ask,
You're so right, Paula. You're so right.
yeah.
It, we need. It's so easy to project. I love when you said that. Even me as a Haitian person, I would be like, no, Haitians are not like that. This is what we do. This is what we do. And then I close my eyes and I realize, oh, toutes mes amies ont été dans une école congréganiste, donc c'est sûr qu'on se ressemble, tu sais, comme all of my friends, we've been in the same kind of school, you know, we've been to sisters or whatever. I don't know how they say congréganiste in English, but we've been in
Private school.
private schools in Haiti. So obviously we have the same kind of network, the same kind of life, but not all Haitians have the same, you know, I've discovered
Yep.
things about Haiti in Canada. So I it's, no, no, it's very, very, very interesting.
Um, Another question I wanted to ask: what was to you, or what is to you, the hardest lesson you've learned as a working mom? Oh, am I touching something?
Oh, you might just be touching something. Um, Paul, I don't know if it was the hardest, but it was the most beneficial to me as a person, as a mom, as a single mom. I've learned to let go. I've learned to let go.
Yes.
Let go.
Uh-huh.
Paula, because of all the things I do, and I love doing all the things I do, they don't
Uh-huh.
stress me necessarily, but in that context, it was like, it's not working
Uh-huh.
anymore. You can't want to control everything. Surrender. And I'm Christian. I have to say I'm Christian, but people could see it as the universe or whatever. But you surrender to a higher power. You surrender to Mr. Universe. You
Uh-huh.
surrender to God. You just I just let go. I remember Paula, and people will miss me as a bad mother for that. But the first day where I had to work, team meetings, deliver papers, and I had to be teaching my son because at first in Ontario
Yeah.
there was no. Right now we have a teacher online with the kids, but there was no teacher. The kids would be, I don't know what they thought the kids were gonna do, but it was us doing the work with them,
Uh-huh.
teaching them basically.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I was gonna kill that boy. You know, and what I do is I look at him, he looks at me, and I'm like, and I had a roommate at the time, so it was easy for me to say, I grabbed my keys and I went for a drive. And I was thinking, I was praying, I was meditating, and I'm like, that's it. Give yourself a chance. A chance.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. You
Yeah.
the he will either way, things will fall back into place and he'll be fine. He'll be fine. So I don't know if it was the hardest, but and I'm happy. It happened the first day. The first Monday I had to teach him because and then it was fine. I let go and it changed the way I see things, the way I live through the COVID, and the way I even see my colleagues. I understand
Mm-hmm.
even more, and I'm like, if they're going to a little bit. One of my colleagues had 6 kids. Well, has 6 kids. I'm like, if she's going through like 1/3 of what I'm going through, you don't need to basically. I don't know if it was hard to learn, but it was the best thing I've learned.
And I like the way you made the correlation between that lesson you learn as just a mom with my child, and then being able to translate that into the work environment. Because I am managing women, I am managing staff, I am helping women that are trying to make sense of the environment. So there's a certain level of there's only so much we can do, and
Mhm.
there's only so much we can worry about. So the letting go is really making room for letting things happen rather than forcing certain things and then creating more tensions. So no, I totally connect with you. Totally connect on that one. And I have to say, for me, the whole beginning of getting real with Paula was that because I was seeing people around me that just could not let go. They were trying to do everything the same way they used to do it before, and
Mm.
think that the more time I'm going to give it, the better it will get. But they were running themselves crazy. And that's the part. The rules have changed. Nothing is the same way it used to be. And until I get that, and it's more when I say until I get that, it's a matter of continuous small discoveries. Sometimes you're good and you're thinking, oh, I got this. And then something happens and you're like, oh, I really didn't get that. My children were asking me about Thanksgiving, and in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna have these people. It's like, we can't do that. You just went back to last year. Are you organized Thanksgiving? And this year it's just like, you can't do that. And you're like, oh, so how do we do this? And those are what I call those small discoveries as you're going through your days. And it could be a discovery whether something as simple as what do we do if the school closed? What do we do if somebody tests positive? It's just we just have to rejig the pot. We just have to look at things and figure out, okay, what's the next best thing, rather than trying to apply our checklist. Yes, when this happens, you do this, and it's just like, yeah, but that's not on the checklist. What do we do? Yeah,
I'm,
we
I'm
have.
a procedural person, so yes, I'm exactly like that. I love processes. I love procedures. So to me, it was like 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're good.
Simple. I got this. Yeah.
But that's
And
not.
then
But you know what, Paula? It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad
no.
thing completely. I was with a friend, and she's like, okay, yeah, my 3 kids and their significant other are coming, and I can't invite all of my friends and their
Mhm.
families for Thanksgiving. I'm like, but it's a good thing. You're going back to the
Yeah.
core. And just the whole fact that you have to reinvent, reimagine things, I don't think it's
Mhm.
bad at all, because a lot of the things we were doing were not perfect, were not the right thing.
And
Maybe
they
it
were
was
not
time
all
for us to
great.
change it.
trust
And
me, I have to say, back then when we were, okay, I'm the procrastinator when it comes to Christmas dinner because there's so much, how could I say, expectations that comes with the Christmas dinner that you're like, oh, I'm gonna be tired. I know I'm gonna be tired. It's gonna be a 48 hours, but you don't do anything, and then the whole time, energy, and love you've invested in a meal is done in about an hour, and you're like, wow, I'm happy you like the food. And now we will have to clean. So it's those elements, it's being able to look at what truly matters. Is it just the meal or is it the time we're spending together? Is it meeting at 5 p.m. or is it just getting together? So dinner will be at 8. That's fine. We have munchies, we have snacks, we have game boards. You figure it out.
you
And
figure it out.
that's what it is. If one question, and we're gonna see whether that's gonna go with the nuggets that you've already mentioned. What would be the 2 or 3 nuggets you would like to give women interested in giving back and building ideas, their ideas into realities?
So, what is a nugget? It's like an
A
advice.
nugget, it's like an advice, words of wisdom, things you would say, had I known before, ha, this is what I would do.
Mm, to the women, huh? I honestly, I would go back to um, letting go, losing control, surrender.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first
Surrender.
thing. Honestly, I would not have even stressed about it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it, you don't understand, Paula. It's been so powerful. I started reading about it. When you already know about something, but you've experienced it, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, now I didn't know it was so powerful, and I just started reading about it. So that's one of the things that um I would not advise, but a nugget.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is don't be not to be afraid, not to letting
Mm-hmm.
COVID control your life. I don't know if I'm the only one, but the stress was so hard on me at the beginning that I was just gaining more and more weight because I would be eating my stress. So, and I would say it channel that energy towards something positive
Mm-hmm.
and build something, build a business, build like I don't know, learn something. Just
Mm-hmm.
channel the energy towards something
Mm-hmm.
more positive. And whatever you're going through, know that you're not alone. Someone else is
Mm-hmm.
going through the same thing. And I've had many conversations with other women, other leaders, whatever aspect we had in common. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, good. I'm not crazy. This is really
Mm-hmm.
happening. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite grateful somehow for everything that's been happening because I'm hoping for a big, a real change and help to for um, les sans-abri, for
Mm-hmm.
people that need help, for the more vulnerable people in our
Good
society.
politician, yeah.
And I'm really hoping for a change for them um, for the upcoming months,
It's
years.
months, years, yeah. And
I just
it's
don't want it to stop. I just want
and
to.
and that's the part. It's that sense of awareness because all of a sudden we, at least even I myself, and I still have a job. I find myself debating how long could I go without the job? How long could I function if we could not do XYZ. And that's the part where you realize that we're all somewhat similar in the sense that there's a few people, and we're not talking the extra billion rich. We're talking about the people, the middle class. We might just be a few paycheck away from be finding ourselves homeless. And that's the part where we have to remind ourselves that being kind to other people is actually paying forward for ourselves as well. Because the reality is things are it could be very easily a switch situation where you're the I'm the homeless and you're the one in the house, because there are people who are in houses but they're house poor. So the difference is not that huge, and we've seen that through COVID. You've seen all of those realities come to light because we stopped. I hope that we're not gonna go back to business as usual. The whatever we discover through the process, I want people to use it to their best advantage. Find your passion. Stop living thinking that one day maybe I'll get to, but you keep postponing. Start figuring out what is it that actually
Oh, it's
makes
not
you
ours.
happy. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a longer journey. And I would say now that we've actually slowed down, make the most of it. Figure out what is it that you've always dreamed of and how can I make it happen. And I would say there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help. I'll mention as well, because you've mentioned a little bit in the beginning, AFIO is also accepting volunteers. So if ladies, you're not, are you or you're not?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So if anybody out there is listening and there's something you wish you could contribute, but maybe you feel you don't have the proper diploma, you don't have all the expertise or blah, 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 there's always someone that you can assist with what you currently have. So reach out, whether it's the neighbor.
Well said, Paula. Paula, we should hire you to recruit our volunteers. Well said. It's true. There's always something that you can do. We have people that don't even know how to read, from people that are highly placed in the
Educated.
government, or highly educated, and they all find a way to help us make a difference. And I used to, before starting working in AFIO, I used to laugh whenever people say make a difference. I'm like, yeah. You're just trying to to get to me and make me feel a sense of that I'm deserving, or I'm giving back or whatever. But it truly makes a difference in someone's life. Yeah, we have people who are donating right now. Snowsuits. We have people delivering Thanksgiving baskets for us to say thank you to our partners, say thank you, because I feel like we need to say thank you. We need to be grateful right now. So we have volunteers just taking time to talk to our members.
Yeah.
Because they need to talk. Don't it all depends on what you can do or what you want to do. And if there's a project, something, we can just frame it and give you that space to make it happen, because the needs are there. People have needs, definitely. There's place to help.
Thank you.
It's not only financial. It's not because you don't have
Yes.
that.
And what I've discovered through my journey, it's easier to give money than it is to actually give your time. But you get so much more out of the time you've invested than the money. Money you give, and maybe half an hour later or maybe 2 days later, you completely forgot about it. When you see someone in someone's eyes that difference that you've made for something that technically might not have been that much for you, it's just like the rewarding. For me, it's all about paying it forward. So I've been blessed in so many different ways. So if there's anything I can do to assist other people, why not? And that's the portion where COVID is one of those elements where, whew, while it did create stress, but it also opened up a different kind of conversation, which to me is so much more rewarding.
I
On
totally.
this, it is almost an hour, and I promise I would not keep you any longer than an hour. And apologies again to everyone for the crash that happened on this side of the screen. But thank you very much, Bettyna. And anybody interested, I'm telling you, AFIO, AFIO. Just check, do a Google search because most of us have internet. If you're watching this show, you're likely to have internet. So do a Google search and then see, is there anything I can contribute? And it could be some a one time kind of deal, or it could be something you decide you want to do for a longer period. So thank you, Bettina. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you for inviting me. I had fun. It's like I was in your living room and we were just talking. Thank you for listening.
That's how I like it. I don't like it too formal. Next time we'll just do it on the grass. And that is, yeah, that might be next summer because we're getting cold very quickly.
I
Anyway, thank you
know.
again. It's been a
Thank you so much
pleasure.
for inviting me, Paula. Thank you for everybody's been listening or who are listening to this. And feel free, like Paula said, feel free to reach out. It's always a pleasure.